Welcome to the panel presented by Sport Chek. Tony Brar here alongside Jack Michaels and Bob Stauffer. Gentlemen, the Oilers coming into 2019 were on a little bit of a tough stretch, but they were able to get a victory last night. Jack, maybe just get your thoughts on how important that victory is, especially in this four-game road trip against divisional opponents.
Well, trust me, I think the Oilers viewed it as more than just a little bit of a tough stretch. They knew that it was imperative they get off to 2019 on a positive start. And I thought against Arizona, once the Oilers lifted their work rate to match and then surpass the Coyotes after about the first 10 minutes, it was really no contest. And Edmonton slowly took over that game. I know the final was 3-1 with an empty netter, but they kind of wore the Coyotes down and their superior talent took over, but it was matched by the work rate. And that was key. And you saw Arizona mustered only 5 third-period shots in a game where they were down a goal. So a real positive sign. Mikko Koskinen feeling the puck, and the usual suspects at it once again with Connor McDavid scoring twice and Leon Draisaitl with a goal and an assist.
You know, for me, Koskinen, I mean, you need stops early in games, and sometimes on the first game of a road trip, teams struggle to get their legs. And you know, I thought Mikko again was stellar, and that was a major reason why in the first period it was only 1-0 after one. And then in terms of offensively, as Jack alluded to, obviously Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are on a major heater. You know, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has been contributing as well. The Oilers would like a little bit more scoring depth, but the deployment of the lines and the realization, all right, we can roll out and go ahead, stop our top line, see what you can do. Right? And then as long as the other lines at least play even, you'll be okay in those games. Interesting switch with the defense pairings too, I thought. You know, reuniting Darnell Nurse with Adam Larsson for the start of the second period. Petrovic, you know, it's a tough situation for him to come in where he's not playing a lot in Florida, and then he's suddenly playing top 4 minutes on a nightly basis. And I thought Petrovic and Manning both had some tough moments early and then gave the Oilers what they were supposed to give them, which is guys that can stop cycles on opposition forechecks and play with a little bit of a mean on and some intensity. And I think that they've been given the scenarios some decent additions during a time in which the Oilers' D is depleted.
And one word Hitchcock has used to describe this club is resilient, and we saw a lot of that after the first period yesterday. Bob, I know you kind of touched up on it, but Jack, I'd like to get your thoughts as well. What do you think of the new additions in Manning and Petrovic and what they've brought to the team since being traded on for Sunday?
Well, they've landed some hard shots on opposing forwards, and that gives any opposing team something to think about when you've got a heavier presence. I mean, Petrovic goes 6'4", 215, and Brandon Manning's probably about 6'1", 207. And so that is a little bit more beef on the back end. It gives Edmonton depth, proven NHL players who can walk into kind of a tough situation. I mean, Brandon Manning had to connect through Toronto from Chicago just to get to Edmonton for his first game. And so he played on just a couple of hours rest. You've got your whole life kind of thrown into the mix, and then you're asked to play some real skilled forwards in Winnipeg. He came back with a strong game against Arizona. So I think that, you know, addition in terms of depth has slowed the pace in terms of what was going on in the Oiler end. I mean, Edmonton was starting to give up 40 shots a night, and you've seen that tail off sharply since the addition of those two defensemen. So, and then it allows guys like Darnell Nurse and Adam Larsson to get a breather, and they're not playing 30 minutes every night. They've got some proven D-men to help spread out the load on those minutes. So it really helps everyone back there, not just the two people that they're necessarily replacing.
They're going to get some healthy or some bodies back health-wise in time. I mean, I expect Alex Chiasson to be very close to play. I'm not sure where we're at with Chris Russell. So for the defense, we might see these pairings, and Caleb Jones has been a big part of this as well. And so you might see Nurse remain with Larsson and Jones remain with Petrovic, and then obviously Manning and Benning together. And I don't know when Chris Russell's going to come back right now. You know, my guess is he's 85 to 90%, given that he's taken the morning skates. I think that Chiasson is closer, and I think Chiasson, there's a good chance. I mean, if I was Ken Hitchcock, I might look at, given what Kassian gave you, at least in the short term, I don't think it's an automatic that Chiasson necessarily goes back in that spot with Zach Kassian there. It might be a case where maybe Chiasson goes where, you know, with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Jujhar Khaira has played well as well. And he's had a little connectivity with Puljujarvi, who I thought had a very active stick and a good game against Arizona.
And there's a couple of options of where Alex Chiasson could be inserted in the lineup. Looks like he will return this weekend. Hitchcock did hint at that yesterday, but where you can find these two guys in the starting lineup. They'll be up in the booth having you covered all throughout the game days and all throughout the road trip. 6:30 Chet is where you can hear them. For Bob Stauffer and Jack Michaels, I'm Tony Brar. This has been the panel presented by Sport Chek.